Good morning, I'm Eric Jingles for BuzzLocal.tv. Thank you so much for watching today. We're very pleased to have Scott Beck with us now. Scott is a cybersecurity expert. Scott, how are you?
I am doing great. I'm very pleased to be here with you today, Eric.
Well,
thank you for having me.
Certainly my pleasure. Look, we've known each other for a while now, and we haven't had much of a chance to catch up, and I've been seeing online that you've been doing some amazing things. But before we get to that, maybe you can just give us a little bit of an overview. What is your regular sort of day job?
So my regular day job is to keep people protected, really. I mean, and to leverage IT in their businesses. We do a lot of business to business. I'm an old radio guy. And in the early 90s, computers came in and started replacing us radio people. And I thought, geez, if I'm going to stay viable in radio and keep my job, I better start learning this computer stuff. And eventually I realized computers was really the way of the future. And I've watched that trend as industries have been adopting technology. It's kind of a double-edged sword because you can do so much more with technology and automate a lot of things, but it's opened up the door for bad guys to steal from us too. So over the last 10 years, we've really seen the industry shift our focus, going from just implementing systems to trying to protect those systems.
Okay. Okay, well, all right, let's just talk about that just briefly. What is the general threat for most people, would you say, when it comes to cybersecurity?
So for people, the number one way the bad guys are getting in is usually by tricking us through email. We call it social engineering. Humans by nature tend to be rather trusting. You know, someone good example that's been happening in the area for a couple of years, and they keep doing it because it's still profitable, is you get a phone call from Microsoft telling you that you've got a virus. And they're preying on people that don't have a lot of knowledge. So they think, oh my goodness, someone's calling to help me. And they end up getting fleeced. The identity theft has been huge. We've had cases of that here in the Greater Moncton area that we've had to assist to deal with. Email is still the number one way that they get in. You'll get an email from the bank. You'll get an email from social media. You got to change your password, or they'll ask you for information. So I actually came up with something I call the REST test. Four tips to being able to see, is that email maybe suspicious? Are they requesting information? E, are they trying to play on your emotions? You got to act now, or your account's going to be closed, or something bad's really going to happen.
Right.
S, spelling and grammar. They're getting better, but usually the grammar is not really great. And T is think before you click, because the old days, they used to send you attachments. Well, the security guys, we've gotten pretty good at blocking that. So now they're sending links to infected websites. So you hover over that link and see where it's actually going to. So that's one of the tips that we try to give out during different seminars or coaching sessions is, there's some basic things that we need to understand that's happening, because they're using that technology against us. So we got to be on the lookout for them.
Okay, so on the personal level, we have to watch out for a number of things like that, which we've seen. Certainly, I've been duped more than once helping out a prince from Nigeria. But what about on the business side of things? Are you seeing that the cybersecurity is becoming a bigger problem for businesses?
I almost fear that we keep hearing the news about the big banks that have been hit. It's almost in the news every day. I think a lot of business people are becoming like, it's not going to happen to us, it happens to the big guys. And that's not the case, Eric. It's happening locally at the small level, because it's a lot easier to steal from 1,000 smaller people than it is to go after the one big one. And the percentage of hackers that get caught is minuscule. It's like a very small percentage. So it's almost like easy money. Cybercrime is now more profitable than the drug trade. Think on that.
Wow.
Yeah. Well, when's the last time you heard about two rival cyber gangs having a gunfight in Mexico? It doesn't happen.
Yeah.
So it's pretty low risk. And most businesses think they've got it covered. They've installed antivirus, which incidentally, was developed in the 90s. The way the hackers are coming after us have changed, but our security practices in most cases have not changed. We're still doing the exact same thing, hoping for better results. So I talk to business people here locally all the time, and they'll say, we got it covered, we're good. And then we start talking, say, okay, so what are we doing for backups? Or we're doing XYZ. Great, when's the last time you checked them? Checked them? And I try to explain the time to run a fire drill is not during the fire. I mean, you want to be checking this stuff in advance to make sure it's good. And I try to talk to them about the fact that security is, you got to try to prevent. you got to detect, and then you got to respond. There's three distinct pieces to security. I mean, what's the point of having locks on the door if there's no security alarm to tell you if someone's broken in? Same kind of thing in the business world, but most business people are focused on the prevention, and nobody's looking at the detection or the reaction. So what happens if a virus comes in? What's the plan of action? I'm sure you've heard of ransomware. Ransomware has been big even in the Maritimes here. We don't hear about it in the news because most people aren't very open about it. It's kind of embarrassing. If you're a small business and you get hit, let's say you're a small law firm or a small accounting practice, you don't want your clients knowing that you've been hit and that your information has been hit.
Basically, the person is saying that we have all your information and we're going to use it or let it out if you don't pay us.
So ransomware, the traditional way is they go in and they just lock all the files. They do something called encryption, but it makes it so the files can't be used, and now you have to pay them a ransom, get your files back. Two problems with that. One is they're bad guys, so you're hoping that they're going to give you your stuff back if you pay them.
They're going to do what they say, yeah.
And the trend is actually 1 in 4, you never get your stuff back. So you can pay them, but they may not give it back to you anyways. But now we're starting to see that trend, as you said. They're getting in the system, they're stealing the files, then they're encrypting them. So if you don't pay them the ransom, now you get a blackmail demand saying, hey, pay us, or we're going to start releasing this information. Most business people have no idea this stuff's going on, and they're still running around with the 90s protection or that mindset of I've got antivirus. And the number one way that hackers get into businesses is through the humans. You could have a great IT company or a great IT guy protecting you and put all the systems in place, but if someone clicks that email with that link that we were just talking about, or gives out the wrong information or goes to the wrong website and gets duped, you can't protect against that. And it's amazing when I'm talking to business people, I say, what are you doing to make sure your people are educated? They say, well, they should know about that. Well, sadly, they don't.
How are they gonna know, yeah.
We got to train people.
Right.